and welcome. I am here with the amazing Sara B. She is a lot of things. I'm not even going to try to do her bio because it is a lot and amazingly a lot. So I'm going to let Miss Sara B introduce herself.
Oh, thank you. I'm Sara B, and I make Bee's Knees knee pads, the sleek and sexy pole dance knee pads that strap on and strip off. In addition, I am an instructor at Love Pole Fitness and Aerial Arts in Bellingham, Massachusetts. And I'm also a client of yours. I'm doing the pole performance program, and it's going very well.
Oh, I'm super glad that it's going well for you. And I'm super excited that you are here and that we're both recording audio and video for this one. So keep an eye out for the video. B is going to take on editing that because that's outside of my wheelhouse. I can sometimes barely edit the audio, like let alone video. We're just going to let her take care of that. Super
Well,
excited
we
to,
showered, so we want a record of it. Like we
yes.
showered, we did our hair, we did makeup, and we want a record of it. So.
Definitely, yeah. It's a rare
Mhm.
occurrence. We were chatting about that before we started recording that like both of us work from home primarily. And so we get to just like be our very true natural selves. And then we have like our presentation selves that we're both like putting on for today. And Sara just got her hair done. Like she's looking fresh. I really love it. Um B, my first question to you is one of my favorite questions to ask people, and it is, why in the world did you start pole out of all the other different movement practices that you could do in the world? Why pole?
Oh, well, I actually don't remember what made me Google it. It was probably because it was 2013 when I started, and it was probably a viral Facebook video. If I think about like that time in my life, I probably saw a viral Facebook video of a pole dancer. And I just Googled pole studios near me, and one actually came up. There was one. And I probably didn't even Google like pole dance studios near me because I didn't even know like what to call it. I probably searched like stripper pole lessons or something, or like keep your clothes on pole lessons. I don't know. I probably searched something bizarre, but Google knew what I meant. And I found a pole studio near me and tried it. But like I had tried so many other things, like everything from Zumba and Tai Chi to yoga to watercolor painting, because I wanted to find a thing that I would be obsessed with and want to like think about and do every day. Because that's like kind of my style, is to be obsessive. So like once I had tried and quit many things. And when I tried pole dance, I like knew I was fucked when the second I tried it. Because at the time I was a high school teacher, and like being a pole dancer would just felt like too risky. But I was like, obviously that's the thing I would pick. The thing that is a bad idea, if you are a high school teacher.
Definitely. And I've been following your journey for, oh gosh, a lot of years now, which is super cool because like I knew of B before B really knew of me. And then fast forward a few years and we are working together. And I remember, I don't know when this was in your journey. It must have been like after you started your knee pad company that there
Mhm.
was a thing that had occurred with you being a teacher and then like also running a pole related business. Can you delve into that a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah. So like I said, like when I started polling and I knew I loved it, I was like, great, I'm fucked, because like these two things don't really go together. Because like I don't know, like like it being like a high school teacher, you're supposed to be like an old spinster who like doesn't do anything outside of school ever. So like I did keep my pole dance life to myself as much as possible. All my personal socials were on private from the day I started. I didn't even have an Instagram when I started. So, but like there's no such thing as privacy in the digital age. So people found out, and it was more just like mum's the word, like let's not talk about it. Like a weird unspoken gentleman's agreement to like never discuss this very weird part of your high school English teacher's private life. And I was grateful for that. Um, but like I started Bee's Knees in 2018, and like you can't run a business in private. So I did have an online presence. But if you went, I don't advise you to, but if you went way back in like Bee's Knees' early Instagram days, you can see that there are pictures of me, but my face isn't in it, or like my back is to the camera, or it's a close up of my knees because I'm like desperately trying to hide myself, and it was almost like impossible. So I actually it for a long time it was an issue, but it kind of floated just beneath the surface for actually a lot longer than I thought it would. But it did become a problem in 2020. Um, I got hauled into the principal's office with a union rep presence because my online presence was a disruption to learning. Like, I get it. I'm not obtuse, like having a sexy pole dance teacher for your high school teacher. Like, that's all too compelling. But, like, a distraction to learning, I was like, this is bullshit. Like, my admins should have just said, like, this is bullshit, fuck off. Because whoever was looking at that stuff was looking at it on their own time, not during school time. It's not like I was posting my homework on my business's website and kids had to go to it.
Mhm.
Somebody was, getting a laugh at my expense and then was offended by it and complained or whatever. And I had already, the weirdest part is I'd already resigned by that point. So nobody had any reason to, like, I was already on the way out the door. So nobody really had any reason other than just maybe needing a hobby to be completely offended by my online presence that is a distraction to learning. But, whatever. So my admins had asked me, they didn't make me, they asked me if I would put everything related to my business on private. And I hate to admit it, but I said yes because I needed a paycheck. And I was already quitting my job with absolutely no plan of what to do next. So the thought of not having a paycheck as well was way too scary for me. And it was, kind of a gross transaction at the time. But, I forgave myself and moved on. But it really was kind of a gross time where being a teacher, it made me, one of the reasons I left is I felt stifled by the job. And then to actually be stifled by it, and to agree to be stifled, I was all too happy to just finally be done with that part of my life.
Yeah, I feel like we a little bit skipped ahead of the timeline. So to give people a little bit more of a background, you started polling, you were just a pole student, and then you transitioned into being an instructor, all
Hmm.
while being a high school teacher.
All while being a high school teacher, yes.
Okay. And then while you were both a pole dancer and an instructor, you had the idea to create Bee's Knees, which is
Hmm.
a like a revolutionary pole dancing knee pad, if I'm gonna like use my own words for it.
Why, thank
Um,
you.
so you're like to like give people a little bit of a background. So you're like you found this thing, you're obsessed with it. You're obsessed with it to the point where you go from a student to an instructor, and then find a
Hmm.
need and go from like an instructor still to also a business owner. Can we
Hmm.
chat about that part of your journey?
Absolutely. So, like, becoming a pole instructor, I would say was like I went deeper and deeper down the pole rabbit hole, and yeah, I was a student. So from 2013 on, I was just a student, and I went to Love Pole Fitness. I've like been there since day one of my pole career. I am at Love Pole Fitness, and I told the owner Tobin that if she, because I'm obsessive, I found out that expert certs were a thing, and Cleo's Rock and Pole was starting to do certifications too, and I was like, oh, certifications are a thing, and being like a professional educator for my whole life, like that's what you do. You learn a new thing and you get certified in it so you can teach it to others. So I told Tobin, I'm like, hey, if you ever host one of these certs, I'll do it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'll just do it. So I did. And then I had no plans to become an instructor per se, but Tobin, like all studio owners, needed a second pair of hands and was like, will you sub this for me? Will you run this warm up? Like, can you, whatever. And she like encouraged me to start shadowing her and subbing. And then eventually she needed a day off and she was like, you want Tuesdays, you're here all the time anyway, and you're certified and you've been kind of like shadowing me anyways. Why don't you just take Tuesday nights? And I was like, sweet. And I was hired. And that was around like, I don't know, 2015 maybe. And like that was kind of the beginning of my pole instructor chapter. But to become like to get into like bee's knees was again totally fortuitous. So she says, take over Tuesdays. I need a day off. And one of the classes on Tuesdays was floor work. And I didn't know shit from Shinola about floor work other than backwards rolls and like bad kitties and basic stuff. But now I got to like, teach it every week. So thank God I'm obsessive. So I dove in and like found stuff on Instagram. I got a Cleo's Rock and Pole subscription and like did a lot of the tutorials there to learn some new stuff. And kind of earned a reputation in my small pond as being like the floor work person. And like doing more floor work means you're always wearing knee pads, and always wearing knee pads means you are always forgetting to put them on before you put on your goddamn shoes. So
Yes.
one day when I was working on something with another instructor, Steph, she goes, someone needs to make knee pads that have like zippers or buttons or Velcro or something. And I don't know what made me say, I'll do it. But I did, because I had no business background up to that point, no understanding of apparel manufacturing at that point. I don't even sew, but I was like, what the fuck, I'll do it. And it just kind of evolved from there.
Yeah, and we've talked about your journey, your evolution with this, and it's super interesting because I feel like a lot of times people have an idea for something, right? And it's always like, oh, it'd be so cool, like if this existed, and that's as far as a lot of people take it. It's just like
Hmm.
it would be cool if, but you took it from like it would be cool if to like prototypes to like fighting to figure out a way to turn this idea into reality, and now you have like a business where you sell these on a regular basis, and that journey is an interesting one, so let's go down that a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So like you said, the important thing to keep in mind is this whole time I am a high school teacher. Um, and I look back and I'm like, how the hell did I do a full-time job and launch a business at the same time? I don't really know, but I did. I went home from school and this is how I spent my nights, my weekends, and my school vacations, is trying to like figure out how to get these knee pads made. And kind of like my first pole class where I didn't even know what to Google. I didn't even know what to Google for like make knee pad maker. So I don't sew anything. I took a ratty old volleyball knee pad and cut it up and like sewed some Velcro on the side and was like, I have a prototype now. So then I start Googling like people to call, like knee pad sewer or like maker of sport equipment. I don't even know what to Google. But after like cold calling and learning on the fly, um, I ended up finding one person who said, yes, I will make this for you. And he made me my first sample. We met and I showed him what I had, and he did a rough sketch, and he made me my first sample, which I took back to my studio and tested on every single person that I knew. And I like skidded across the floor for weeks and weeks to see if it would fall apart. And then I would take that feedback and give it to him. And he did sample number 2 based on that feedback. And we did that until I got to sample number 10, which was, the one we finally decided. So I took sample number 10 and he was like, okay, you need dies cut. And I'm like, I had no idea what that meant. I had to go then figure out what that meant, so that someone's not cutting the fabric by hand. There's lots of ways to cut fabric, and his machines are die cutters. So I had to get a die in the shape of my knee pad sizes to have them stamped out. But again, I don't know any of this, and I'm learning it on the fly. So we have the prototypes made, and I'm so fucking psyched. And I bring them to the studio and I put them on people. And the second they like take a knee, the things pop off because they're all too small, because I didn't do my size chart right. There was no like pre-existing size chart for me to just copy or order from. I had to make a size chart, and I of course made it wrong because trial and error. Although they call it test and learn these days, or fuck around and find out. And I'm like, I've been doing that since birth, so I'm ready for this. So I measure everyone's knees, like pole dancer or not. I am measuring your knees. If we just met, I'm like, roll up your pant leg. Let me see the differential between your quad and your calf. Like I just measured everything and came up with averages and asked people, like, what's your mental model of what size you would be if you ordered this? And then does it match up? It was painstaking. And then I had to have new dies cut, which cost a fortune. And we made prototypes round 2, and those fit, thank Christ. But all of that took about 10 months to launch. So from January to October of 2018, this is all I did all day long, like when I wasn't at school. Um, and when it finally launched and I sold one, I was like so excited. And the first time I sold one to somebody that didn't know me, I was like, oh my God, that's even better. Like, so it was trial and error. It was fuck around and find out and just don't stop.
I love it. I also had that like same feeling when I started especially my online business, and I'm like, okay, people that have never met me in person, that will never meet me in person, are like paying me money to help them with their like body things, and I'm like, this is the weirdest but coolest feeling like
I know.
in the
And
entire world.
when people email me and they say like, hello, Bee's Knees team, I'm like, you got her. It's just one, because people don't realize that it's just one person on the other end because they don't know you, but they want to get to know you. It's like such a strange interaction slash transaction. And the person who bought my knee pads, that's like a stranger to me, they have no, I know their name. They have no idea that I like remember them 3 years later. I'm like, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so you went through the like building a prototype. We got the sizing right. We're ready to go.
Mhm.
Where in your journey are you with like growth? Like you're like posting on Instagram, things are like kind of ramping up at this point. Like where are we?
Great question. Where are we? So maybe around like March of last year, I was like, this business is growing out of control and I can't even keep up with it. I would ask my team to make like 100 pairs of Blackheart, and I would put them up on the site being like, they're available for back order. They're being made as we speak. I'd sell 50 and the 100 would get here and there was no money to pay the bill. So I'm like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? And so I was growing, but it wasn't profitable or sustainable in terms of pace. So I was like, clearly I'm doing something wrong. And my business coach at the time, I was in an entrepreneur group. Um, and she was like, sounds like you got to raise your prices. And everybody in the group was like, you got to raise your prices. And I was like, fuck you. I'm not doing that. I'm not a greedy capitalist pig. I'm not doing this just to be selfish and make money. And they were like, it's okay to make money at your business. That actually took a really long time to like wrap my head around and be like, this is your business. It is okay to like pay yourself and be okay with making money and letting people give you money if you have something that they want to give you money for. It was, that part was, not having a business background and having to learn on the fly. That's easy compared to the emotional component of like facing your business's growth and what that means for you. Because like, without going off on a super tangent, I have realized, and I think a lot of people do, that the way who you are is how you run your business.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody could tell me that running Bees Knees a completely different way it would be optimal, but I'm never not going to fuck around and find out or test and learn or just Google shit and see if it works. Cause that's what I do. So that is how I run it. So that said, I really was like kicking and screaming against raising prices because I just didn't think it was like fair to the people that had supported me and encouraged me all these years and shopped with me. But once I did the math, I was like, this business will die if I do not do this. Like, if I don't it's not even just raise prices, it's like do the math and calibrate how much this should cost and have a reason why you charge what you charge. Um, if I didn't do that, my business was definitely going to die. If I did do that, my business had a chance to succeed. So that was a really big deal. And I shut down the site for like 5 days and did this massive rebrand. Because if you're going to raise your prices, people want to know what they're getting for it. Like, why am I paying this much? Where is the value? And it did not take long at all for me to like explain the value. The words were already there. I just hid them because it's an Amazon world and people want cheap shit fast. And I was trying to masquerade as cheap shit fast. Um, and I'm not. I can't be. And trying to do that almost, killed me in terms of pace and shut down my business. So I presented this whole new thing like, no, we are small batch manufactured ethically in the United States. We are a woman owned one person business. Human hands touch these things and you pay all of those human hands. That's why it's so expensive. Also, this will outlast any other knee pad that you have ever bought. So you're going to have it for a really long time. So that was easy to put out there because I already knew it. I just didn't, you know, put it out front for people to really absorb. And once I did that, to go back to your actual question, which was about growth, things slowed way down, both for better and for worse. Like it slowed down, meaning like I can now keep up with shipping and orders, which is great, but it slowed down in terms of, revenue. So, it's good. It was both like good and bad, but now at least I know every sale I make is a sale at the right price point and is a sale that is going to nourish my business and myself. So, it's like growth business wise, but it's also, personal growth in that sense. And I always say this and people laugh, but like Michael Scott from The Office, when he says like, of course, business is personal. It's the most personal thing in the world. He's supposed to sound like an idiot, but it's genius because it's very personal. All of this is very personal.
It definitely is. And I feel like 2 points that I want to point out is one, while you were ramping up, that's when your whole like teacher fiasco happened, right? So like before we had this like epiphany that we needed to do some like recalculating with the price, is that you were excuse me, like growing. Like you were like, my impression at least was like that was like the growth phase, and then your growth was like a little, I'm gonna say stunted from my perspective, because you were like forced to shut down your socials, which was I'm gonna imagine like a hard hit.
It was. And actually, like to make things even more confusing, those two things actually happened a year apart. So I had to shut down my socials in 2020. And then I think I said the wrong year, that I did my rebrand in 2021. So either way, to make things totally confusing for people, like every time I felt like I hit a stride, what those two events have in common is that I hit a stride and I was going somewhere and then it got clipped at the knees. And then I hit a stride and it was going somewhere and then it got clipped at the knees. And it's like, this idea that growth is linear. No, it is very much like we've talked about before, like that roller coaster where it's up and down and all around and you're upside down and you're going to throw up 1 minute, but you're like, I also love this. This is great. Can I get my picture taken at the worst possible moment on this roller coaster, of yourself screaming and laughing? Like it's been a very strange ride. But it does feel like every time I start to get a steady clip at something, like, okay, I'm going somewhere, something else happens. Like, I don't know, a global pandemic or like, supply chains are disrupted. That was crazy because I was able to get cheap. Well, I shouldn't say cheap, because it's not cheap, but I was able to get closeout elastic for years for like a very low price. So the stuff that Patagonia uses and just has as leftovers, they're like, yeah, take it. And it really helped a small business like me to get this high quality material at a very low price because it was a color they'd phased out. And I'm like, well, I like it, I'll use it. And then the pandemic happens and everyone and their mother's making masks and you can't find elastic anymore. And my like, my in with getting this really good elastic, it was gone. The warehouse was cleaned out. So when I had to do nudes again, I had to buy elastic and in huge quantities that I really didn't think I could afford. And I mean, I'm still sitting on boxes of elastic that will last me for years because I had to buy such a high quantity. But it was like a risk that I was like, I'm still going to be here in 3 years and I'll still need this elastic. So a lot of it is, you're getting somewhere and then something happens. And it's this very herky-jerky, almost like trying to start an engine kind of feeling. I'm also obsessed with metaphors, so just know that.
I love it. And I feel like one of the things that I really appreciate about you is that this is a normal thing with being an entrepreneur. And I'm in business coaching groups and like I run a business myself. And from the outside looking in, it looks like things are just like smooth sailing. But then the second you like peek behind the curtain. It's like, no, like literally every single business owner that I've ever talked to is like, we're in a growth phase, but I know this growth phase is going to like result in a dip at some point. And like, maybe it's a little dip, maybe it's a massive dip, but it's for the most part, like usually followed with some sort of growth phase again. And like being as like a one human show, like you're the only one riding the dips and you're like, oh my God, like I don't know if I can be on this roller coaster anymore. But you've been like very open and vulnerable with your, especially your Instagram posts about like what's going on in the business, like, you know, why you're having to increase your prices. Like your knee pads aren't the same as the generic knee pads that you can find on Amazon. Like they're hand sewn, they're made in the US, like, you know, ethically sourced, all of the things that go along with that. And having a peek behind the curtain is something that I know I really appreciate. And I'm I'm sure people appreciate it too. Other people, thoughts on that?
They do. Yeah. People message me and they're like, I love when you're so open about your mistakes. And I'm always like, thank you. Because I make a lot of them. So I'm glad people, get something out of them. But I think some of it is, people relate to it because, well, we all make mistakes, so that's just generally relatable. But I think there are a lot of people out there who want to, I don't want to say like want to start a business, but like my story so far is someone who was like, fuck it, I got nothing else left to lose. So I might as well just try my hand at running this business for real. And I don't have any special background. I didn't go to fashion school or whatever, like to learn apparel design. I wing it and it works out. And I think sometimes people just find that like amusing or charming, but there's also a part of them that's like, well, I mean, I could do that. Maybe I could do that. And I'm like, yes, you fucking can do that and do it because none of this means anything. So just fucking go for it. And I think at least that's how I hope it comes across. Because when I get DMs from people or emails from people that are like, I love like what you're all about, I think most of the time that's what they're getting at is that I don't know what I'm doing, but it's working. And I think people are just like really hoping, to see me make it because I wrote a blog post called A Sexy Idiot's Guide to Business because that's just kind of how I feel. I'm like, whatever, I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, you want to open a business? Go ahead.
Yeah, I find it incredibly inspiring because yeah, from my perspective, especially before I started a business, I was like, I have this idea of like how I want to run a business, and like I knew that I eventually wanted to like be a business owner, but like I don't know what I'm doing. You know, like especially on the business end, like yes, I do know what I'm doing, like treatment end. I've been to a lot of school for that,
Of
but like running
course.
running a business is like a whole nother, I don't know, like monster of a thing. And like there's this pressure, I think, that like you're supposed to know what you're doing, you're supposed to be good at it. And it's like, no, like I literally like every day is like, nope, well, that didn't go the way that I had hoped it would go. So like let's pivot slightly and see if like version like 3001 is the version that's like going to consistently work. And spoiler alert, a lot of times it's not. So we just like keep trying and like rolling with the shit that the universe keeps throwing at us, like
Rolling
never
with the
ending.
shit is so accurate. Yes. And I feel like every day I wake up surprised that like this is kind of working. And I say kind of, but like every day I wake up surprised, like, oh, okay, like we're still doing this. Cool. But I think the people around me, like my family, like my dad, especially, they're like not surprised because my whole MO is like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. And if I get into trouble, I'll find help. And my dad's like, yup, you've been doing that your whole life. Case in point, when I was really little, I don't remember this, but this is a story that like gets brought up around the holidays, and it's like the reasons we drink at the holidays. People like to tell stories about you. So my dad will always remind me that I didn't know how to swim, and we went to a party that had a pool, and I just like jumped in the pool. And I was just sitting on the bottom of the pool looking up, like this went wrong. And he jumped in the pool with all of his clothes on to like rescue me from the pool. And then it like he was like, you just didn't understand. Like, you can't just do things. You'll get into trouble. And I'm like, but I'll figure out a way out of it. Like, it's fine. Like, just test and learn, just go. So I am very like, I'm oriented, like to a fault. I would rather try and fail than sit around and come up with the perfect plan and never do anything. But it also makes for like very, very interesting times.
Yeah. I think I resonate with your brand, like your story, because that is how like I want to be like inside, like I want to be the like fearless person that's like I'm going to figure this out, and like whether I get into trouble or not, like I trust myself enough. It's kind of like the underlying thing that you're like I trust myself enough that like I'm either going to ask for help or I'm going to figure this out on my own. And I think that's the quality that like draws a lot of people to you, is because they're like, fuck, like I want that. Like I want that for myself. So yeah, I've been really excited to follow your journey. I think it's super inspiring, and
Oh,
I'm
thank you. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
happy we're here.
Yeah.
A slight pivot, but still staying within like the business. When you were designing your knee pads, if I remember correctly, it started with black, and then
Yep.
we transitioned into white,
Yep.
and then we've added some more colors. But your most exciting line is your nude line that I want to call the naked line, nude and naked. And that was something that was different from other knee pads because nude is not one shade. Nude is a lot of
Yes.
shades. So tell me how the nude line came to be.
Gladly. This is something I'm really proud of. So yeah, I started with black and then added white because everything comes in black and white. So bees knees are made out of a compression mesh material that is medical grade. So it's the compression is really thick and the material is really thick and the compression is really tight. That's why it stays on your knee. But because it's medical grade, like the kind of thing you would use for like support hosiery or like support undergarments. Um, is it only comes in black, white, and beige. Like that's it. They're not making like leopard print trusses for elderly people. There's just no need. So when people are like, but can't you just find mesh? Like there's mesh all over these websites. It's not power mesh. It's not what you can order everywhere in every color. Trust me, because I've also Googled and ordered samples from everywhere and looked. But it only comes in black, white, and beige. So I made black and I made white. And then the second I made black, people were like, "Cool, when are you going to make nude?" Like honestly, it was like I was so proud of this thing that I made and people were like, "Cool, when are you going to make nude?" Like that's all they wanted. And I knew I could make beige like that because I already had access to the fabric. But what if you're not beige? So it wasn't like, a soapbox that I planned to be on, but I was like, well, no, like I want everybody to be able to look naked. Like pole dancers want nude stuff because they want to look naked. And I know when people say the word nude, they mean beige, but really what they mean is I want to look naked. And not everyone looks naked when wearing beige. So I'm like, I know what you mean. I'm going to try to head this off at the pass and just make it in as many nude colors as I can. Because the second I put out beige, someone's going to be like, well, when are you going to make X? Might as well just make them now. So it
Mm-hmm.
was kind of more like from like if you're, so to like jump to the side, I have to take the white fabric and have it dyed to match the elastic binding. So I had to find elastic samples in the right colors that I wanted and then have the fabric dyed to match. So if you're going to do that, you might as well have it all dyed. You don't, it doesn't make sense cost wise to dye like 15 yards of one color. You get like 50 yards of 7 colors and then you got to sit on that fabric for a while. So it took a long time to put the nudes line together and a lot of money because I had to like invest in those materials. But I was like, like it'll work out. I just didn't really, um, like someone asked me, well meaning, but like, well, is there even a market for that? And I was like, I'm sorry, what are you asking? Are you asking, like, is there a market for pole dancers of all colors? Like, yeah, that
Yeah.
exists. But the question was like, well, have you done any market research? And I'm like, of course I haven't. Like, of course I haven't. But like, I know this will work because, like, yes, there are people of all colors everywhere. So, like, I'm sure this will be fine. sure it'll work out. And it did, because, I didn't need to do a bunch of market research to find out that, like, yeah, people of color poll, it was really more just like, what skin colors are going to be, um, most ideal. And like, for like, ideal meaning like people will identify with them and like want to wear them and be like, yes, this is my skin tone. And at first, like, it was 2019, April 2019, that I launched the nudes collection, and there were 4 colors. And the 4 colors that I did were literally the 4 colors that I could have dyed, because you can't just make anything in any color you want. Long story short, just trust me. It's not all that easy. And then when I had to bite the bullet on elastic, because it all got swept up in the pandemic for mask making, that was my opportunity to choose my colors a little more carefully. I wasn't just working with somebody else's leftovers. And I chose colors from the palette that, they gave me to choose from. And I ordered samples. It took a really long time, but I was like, no, I need to see these in real life, in light. I need to get people's opinions to be like, yes, I like that one. No, I don't like that one. That one's, whatever. So that took a long time. But then by the time, it was worth it, because by the time I released Nudes 2.0, which has 5 shades, people were amped to get their hands on a pair. And I'm really glad. And they tag me in videos and I'm like, that looks fucking great. So it was worth it to double down on the right materials and the right colors. But I don't know that I would have doubled down if I hadn't just done Nudes 1.0 all in one go, So it was important to me to launch many shades of nude at once, because I just didn't want to serve one color first and then be like, yeah, I'll get to the other ones later. It's no, like, we're doing this or we're not. Again, the obsessiveness. I'm like, we're either doing this or we're not. So
Yeah. No, I absolutely love it, because I feel like it's, especially with like the timing of all of this happening. So it was like 2020-ish. There was a lot of stuff happening in our world where more people were becoming aware of how exclusive a lot of the world is to people that like don't happen to be the like typical beige color. And a lot of businesses literally got like shit on because they would only launch their products to like a very narrow range of skin color. And then eventually, once they had like a bunch of outrage, it was like, okay, fine, like we'll add on, the other ends of the like color spectrum. So to be a small business and to have that be like your very first thought, to me shows that you care a lot about the people that you're serving, and is like another reason to work with a small business owner, because like, let's be honest, large corporations like really don't give a fuck about a
no,
lot of things.
100%, which is why they're like, okay, market research shows we're not going to sell this many, so it's not profitable. And I'm like, this many of whatever widget they're making. And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess as a business owner, I'm terrible at it, because I don't do market research to find out what things are profitable. I do it the hard way. But as a, like, as a human being, like, human beings run small businesses, and we don't always make decisions based on like market research or what has like the highest margin. We look at like a need. Like, you're no different. I mean, you started your entire program because the thing you needed didn't exist. And
Yeah.
I'm happy to I'm happy to have gotten in with you before you are too booked and too busy, because having a pole specific like chiropractor and like sports physio and cross trainer at my fingertips, like, the fact that somebody hasn't crossed these worlds before is a tragedy. But I'm happy for you that
Thank you.
that you did it. But it's like, it's seeing that thing and going, we need this, and I'm just going to do it because nobody else is going to. I think is, I don't know, it's probably why we gravitated towards each other. But I will say, big corporations do suck for that. But it's also the inclusion of color, or not being inclusive of color, is one reason that they suck, and the other one is size. And if people don't know this, like, it is cheaper to make 1 or 2 sizes of something. So if you've ever bought something that just says one size, that is because that company was like, it is cheaper to make one size. Like I said earlier about my sizing, I had to make 4 sizes, I had to have 2 dies cut for 2 different shapes. If I wanted to have, like, the more sizes I make, the more dies I have to cut, and It just adds more cost. The more patterns you get made, stuff like that.
Mhm.
And at a certain point, a company will evaluate, like, look, we don't need to serve everybody. We just need to serve the most number of people and have a really cheap product. So that's why one size exists. I've even seen knee pads that have sizing, it'll say small, medium, and then medium, large. And I am like, that I've said this a million times, like that is psychological warfare. Like what the fuck? It's small, medium, and medium large. Like I don't even know what that means. How is medium on both labels? And the answer is most people's mental model of what size they are is they're going to go, well, I'm probably a medium because it's the Goldilocks size right in the middle, which means if small medium is sold out, they'll buy medium large and make do, or vice versa. So they're selling the same pair of knee pads, like, or whatever thing that has this funky sizing that's literally just a label that's sewn on and doesn't mean anything. It's not based on serving the individual, it's based on serving the profits. So it's not profitable to have multiple sizes. And that is like, I just blacked out and went into like a TED talk on sizing. But like the bottom line is it's very expensive to maintain many sizes in an effort to serve everybody, which is why most people don't do it. So because I am dumb and don't know these things, I was like, how many sizes should I make? 4 sounds good. And people were like, holy crap, these come in 4 sizes. And I was like, wait, yeah, is that good? Because most knee pads don't. But I didn't, I was like, well, let me think about the people that I want to buy these. Everyone. So the more sizes, the better. And so I had 4 sizes from the get-go because I was like, well, why wouldn't I? And experienced business owners would say, I can give you like one reason, profit, but I didn't think that way. And I'm glad for it now. But, and then I did have a few people message me being like, I need something above XL. Are you going to make another size? And I was like, I want to, but I can't afford to right now. What if I made strap extenders instead? And that was me going back and forth with a customer in DMs who was like sending me pictures of the jury rigged knee pads that she had made. Like she took a pair and then like cut them and added something and wrapped it around. And I was like, dude, that is terrible. Like that looks uncomfortable and it also looks ugly. Like you have such a cute outfit and then you have to strap that around your leg. That's awful. She's like, I know. So I said, look, what if I could, in the meantime, get you like a strap extender, like just a piece of Velcro to put on there and make it look cute? She was like, I'm down. I sent a sketch to my team and they made it. And like strap extenders were intended just to be something to like, I was inspired by her and wanted to make this for this customer. But then I ended up getting feedback from people that were like, their bodies had changed, but their knee pads still lasted. Like they changed size, but their knee pads still lasted. So they were like, well, I don't want to buy a whole new pair. Like, I'll just get strap extenders. Or some people have like a leg that is a different size than their other leg, and that's totally normal. So it's not just for like above XL, it's for like fluctuating sizes or in between sizes. And it's been like, I'm floored by the messages I get when people are like, I fit in your knee pad. I'm like, yes, of course you do, because they were designed to fit you. They were designed to fit as many people as possible. And there's just, if you look around, if you take like a sharp eye at the stuff that is marketed towards pole dancers of a certain size and of a certain color, it's like a dead giveaway. So, it's a dead giveaway that they were thinking about. They weren't thinking about who was actually going to wear them. So inclusion was sort of like an accidental mission that I went on without really knowing it. And it's, I don't know, it's something I'm really proud of. I wish I could say that like, this was all like that the vision that what Bee's Knees is now, I wish I could say I had that vision from day one, but it was literally gleaned over time in small bits through my interactions with people who couldn't find things that they wanted elsewhere. In the same way that I was like, I'll make them, they went to me and said, you seem like a lady who would make things. Would you make this for me? And I'm like, okay, I'll try. And, here I am.
Yeah, which I think says a lot about how you operate, though, because a lot of, like you have been saying, a lot of businesses are like, no, it's not profitable, so I'm just going to stay within the products that I know will sell and like that means that people are excluded. But when you were presented with an issue, it was like, okay, how can I make this work? And I think that's like the underlying tenet of being inclusive is you're like, this needs to be part of my business, right? Like everyone needs to be included. How can I make everyone be included, whether it's size or skin tone, or I'm sure there's probably more things that'll come up the longer that you run your business that you'll be like, oh, like I didn't realize that by doing X, I was excluding other people. So like, how can I change this so that more people are included and able to use the
Absolutely.
product?
And it's important, I think, too, like, because I think most people come to poll. I can't even say, like, there is no data to back this up, but this is my feeling, is that people start polling because they're looking for a place to belong. They're looking for a place to feel accepted. I know that's not hard and fast the rule, but I've seen a lot of it where I think there are enough people that I can say with confidence that a lot of people come to pole dance to be included and to feel included. And that's a lot of, like, that can mean a lot of different things. But like myself, I found pole eventually, but like one of my failures, this was I wanted to learn to dance when I was like 25. And I called a local dance studio, like a traditional dance studio. And I said, do you have classes for adult beginners? And they were like, no, just come down to the adult class and you'll be fine. I'm like, are they beginners? And they're like, no, you'll be fine. Well, I went and I was so fucking bad that they told me class was canceled. And I was like, okay. They were like, yeah, don't come anymore. Class is canceled. I'm like, okay. So I drive by the studio one night when class was canceled. It was not canceled. They were all there. They just wanted me to stop coming because I was so bad at it. I know, it's like the most tragic story. Like the actual version is way longer, but like it is a tragic story. And I was like crushed. I
Yeah.
was crushed. I was crushed. So, but years later, when I found pole, my first pole class, I'm there in like my tennis skirt and like my yoga top because I don't have any pole clothes. I'm nervous and I'm excited. And at the end, the instructor, who was Tobin, who's my, like, one of my closest friends and my boss now at the studio, she came over and said, "Did you have fun?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Do you want to come back?" I shit you not, I teared up and said, "You'll let me?" It was the most pathetic thing I've ever said, but I meant it because I was fully prepared to be like, okay, thanks for coming. Please don't come back, that kind of a thing. And just to be accepted, like that one moment of acceptance turned me into a pole dancer, turned me into a pole instructor. It turned me into a fuck this job, I don't need it person. It turned me into a business owner. It turned me into a designer. It turned me into like the person that I am today. And oh my God, I just got to chill saying that. So that just that one moment of acceptance, it's a big fucking deal. And I know other people have told me stories about how they wanted a place to feel accepted, a place to belong. And to like it only makes sense that like a pole wear brand or a knee pad brand should also just be one of acceptance. Like, you can sit with us, you fit here, you belong here, you should see yourself here, because that's kind of like what pole has meant to me. So why that's like kind of, I'm just continuing the tradition that I was steeped in.
I absolutely love it. I have two comments, and one is I feel like people resonate with your message a lot because unfortunately a lot of, I'm gonna say, pole wear in general, like pole apparel, is not super inclusive. If you look at like the sizing for like the super sexy cute outfits that you see on websites, like the sizing is like very limited, and so there's kind of this like, in the mainstream pole world, a little bit of like, if you don't fit into this small box, I'm going to say that like kind of
Mm-hmm.
loud, like you don't really have a lot of options. And so you having a product that like allows people to like be safe and continue polling that is inclusive is a novelty, and it shouldn't be. Like, I'll straight up say that, like it should be the norm, but it's not the norm, which I think is why people are like, oh my God, your knee pads, the sizes, the colors, like fuck yes. And then the other point is kind of a good transition because I know when I first started polling, I had no idea how much it was going to change my life. Like I literally went into it actually with a guy friend, which is super funny to like look back on. I started my aerial journey doing hammock and kept getting fabric burned. And it doesn't go well having your back be fabric burned while you're in chiropractic school. Do not recommend. And so I was like, I want to stay like in this like genre of movement, but I don't want to deal with fabric. And I had a horrible experience with Lyra the first time I tried it. Have no pain tolerance behind my
Lyra
knees.
is 100% so painful.
It's so painful. Yeah. So yeah, started I was like, I'm gonna take a pole class and like went with a guy friend, and it was kind of this like, I'm just gonna go like be silly, you know, like whatever. It's funny. And then fast forward, like it's been 5 years now. Like it's literally all I do. Like my business is wrapped around pole, like all of my hobbies are wrapped around pole, all of my extra money goes to paying for pole stuff. And like whoever would have thought back in the day that we would be here.
I kind of wish I had like a scene from my childhood where I watched Tawny Katayan do flips on the hood of the car in the Whitesnake video, and I
Mhm.
told my mom, I know what I want to be when I grow up, and she canceled cable
Oh gosh.
immediately. My brother was so pissed. We got it back because my dad was like, "What are you doing?" But he like to look. I'm also surprised at like I found it and here's where it's taken me. But then I look back at my like little girl self and I'm like, oh, you just didn't know about pole yet. You just had no
Yeah.
idea.
I love it. I love it. A slight pivot from
Hmm.
where we've been talking, but I think it's one that's worth going down is you are a pole instructor, but you also have a past career as a teacher. And a lot of what impacts people's journey with pole is the instructors, right? Like if you have a good instructor, it can make you be obsessed with it. If you don't have a very good instructor, like maybe you don't come back to a class again. So
Hmm.
how has those two careers like helped each other, interacted?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, I mean, just the fact, like I said before, the fact that I was a high school teacher and like when you are like in education as your profession, you learn a new thing, you get a certification. So like that already led to becoming a pole instructor. But I will say that the way I um, like differentiate instruction and try to figure out what students need to be successful is what every great professional educator has ever done. It's like all you ever do. So when a student walks through your classroom door, you have to know like what is in that student's like emotional backpack, not to sound like super hippie-ish, but like everyone walks through the door with a different bag of shit. And if you want to be able to teach that person something, you got to know what's in that bag. Like, what are they coming to you with? Whereas like a high school student might be coming to you with like any number of things that are going on at home or personally or whatever. That person who walks through your studio doors, like they walked in with a bag of shit too. And it takes everyone overcame something to walk through that door. I know pole students who it took them a year of following our studio on Instagram before they got the courage to sign up for a class. I also know people who sign up every week for the intro class and drop it. I see you. I see you there on the wait list and then you drop it, or on the roster and you drop it because the night before they get cold feet and then they drop. And then when they finally come in 3 months later, I am like, yes, because it takes a long time for people to walk through that door. And then when they're there, everyone's there for a different reason. Like I have some people who are like, this is the only thing I do for myself. I don't care if I like do the trick. I just need to be here and not have somebody like asking me to make them a sandwich or drive them somewhere. I also have people who are like, I want to compete and I want to learn all the trick. Like everyone's there for a different reason. And that, but everyone also like walks out the door feeling like they fucking did the thing. So I think that's your goal as a professional educator, like knowing your student and knowing what they need to be successful, and that might not be the same thing for everyone. Um, and that hasn't changed from being a pole instructor. And there's like this, it's like that old expression about teachers, like those who can't do teach, and it's supposed to be like a diss on like, well, you can't actually be a scientist, so you're going to teach science. And I'm like, fuck you, dude. Like, to be able to teach, to do something and teach it to other people, like that is like a skill set. Those are two skill sets that are amazing to stack on. It's like peanut butter and chocolate. Like you stack them together and you're like, holy shit, this is amazing. So like there are pole instructors. I've taken their workshops who are awesome polers, but shit teachers. I'm like, that's cool. I'm going to just stand here and watch you do the thing, but can you help me to do the thing? Like I can't yet, you're helping me, like reach my arms behind my head. So go ahead and demo it as many times as you want to, unless you can help me do that. I don't know, like you're not teaching me, you're just showing me this cool trick that you can do. But I don't know, like like a teacher and a polar, it's like you have, it's not enough to be a great polar. You have to be a great teacher, which was why and this totally sounds like a pitch, like it's not, but when I made the pole instructor plan book, that was very much the like test and learn baby of my two careers in one thing. Um, and it's really just designed to have like, okay, do you have an objective, or are you just like throwing spaghetti at the wall with your classes? Do you know who's in your class? Like, can they, especially I teach a lot of mixed level classes, like you have to know who's in that class and what they can do before you can plan something. Otherwise, it's a waste of everybody's time. Um, and when I had to come up with like a slogan for the book, I was like, ugh, this is so lame. But immediately I plan like a teacher, teach like a pro, because you have to be a good teacher to teach pole. Being a good poler just isn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that is my TED talk on being a teacher.
I love it. And I think it's worth highlighting because there's a lot that goes into teaching a class, right? It can be incredibly overwhelming. You know, you have I don't know how many students fit in your pole studio, but like it can be like 12 plus people in one of the studios that I train at, like all coming in with different skill levels, all coming in with different baggage, different expectations, like all of this. And you're trying to, you know, like herd cats in like an
Mm-hmm.
hour and like have an objective, and it can be incredibly overwhelming. And I feel like we need to give all pole instructors some props, but then it's also worth pointing out that like you as an instructor have a lot of responsibility, and if you're not taking that responsibility seriously and you're just like, oh, I'm gonna go like fuck around and teach a class for an hour, like my very strong personal opinion is like you're doing yourself and your students a disservice. So like treat it like it's a big deal, because it is a really big deal.
Yeah, and
um
I work hard, meaning I'm really bad at balancing. Like this is just a fucking hobby, so relax. With you have a big responsibility to the people in your class, because I think both of those things are true. It's like I do have a responsibility to the people in my class and the students at the studio, like to give them a good and meaningful experience. But I also like it's pole, it's fun, like relax. So I do want to encourage students to like be their best and challenge themselves. But then I'll see students getting like really worked up that they can't do something. And I'm like, okay, now it's so my bestie Jen says, like, whenever I get frustrated at open poll because I'm trying to do something and I'm like, fuck, I suck at this. She'll be like, okay, you're about to throw the controller. It's time to go outside, right? When you think of you playing
yeah,
video games, it's
yep.
when your mom comes over and says, like, you need to go outside. You're throwing the controller and you're yelling at the TV. So I do think that like that is part of like there's for me there's a responsibility to remind people like we came here for a reason, to feel good and to push ourselves and remind ourselves that, you know, this is a hobby. So before you know, throw your grip or kick your phone because you didn't get the combo, like just remember this is pole and none of this matters. But like, and this is like related, but it's like, I don't know, this is like, I feel a responsibility to say this, is that just because I'm the instructor does not mean I am always right. Like, call back to the top of this conversation when I was like, I make mistakes all the fucking time. There's a perception that happens that your instructor can do anything and knows everything. And I'm like, whoa, no, like not true at all, especially in my case, like at all. Um, I so early in my pole career, I asked a teacher about grip, and she was like, "Yeah, you can use this and this, but like don't start using firm grip. You'll get addicted to it and you'll never stop using it. And I internalized that as like, don't use grip. Okay. Well, I don't actually use a lot of grip because like I use dry hands, but like I don't actually use a lot of grip because I just don't tend to like need it as much. But then a student asked me, like, I noticed you don't use a lot of grip. Like, why is that? And I said, oh, somebody when I first started said, don't start using it or you won't stop. So I think I developed the habit. When really it's like I have it in my bag and I use it if I need it. I just don't really as much as some people do. And this student internalized my words like I did with my instructor as don't ever use grip. It's cheating. It's bad. And I've been teaching her for like over a year, maybe even two. And she's like struggling to get her invert, like struggling with all these things. And then finally one day I was like, why don't you, like your hands look slippery. Why don't you just put on some grip? And she was like, I don't use it because you told me not to, because it's cheating. And I was like, what? I had this like, what? Like some random thing that I said 2 years ago, you took as like wisdom and have been punishing yourself. Like, first of all, I am so sorry. That is like not what I meant. Second, like, who told you to listen to me? Like, who told you to listen to me? Me? Don't listen to me. And she started using grip, and like, lo and behold, she's like making some progress, like on not just her invert, but other things. Not because grip is cheating, or not because grip is the magical solution to anything. It's because she she felt freer to give herself what she needed to be successful, and she wasn't worried that she was doing it wrong. Like there's just so much that goes into the way we codify, is that the right word? We encode people to believe certain things. And it's like, what I want for anyone who polls is to walk in and realize that that's like the free space on the bingo board of your life. Like you go there and it's anything you want it to be. Free space on the bingo board of your life is probably the best metaphor I've come up with. So I'm just going to end on that.
I love it. Yeah, when I said like pole instructors have a lot of responsibility, I more meant along that line. Like a lot of what you say and do in class has way more of an impact than I think a lot of instructors realize. And it can be an amazing, like beautiful thing if you are aware of that. And then it can also be like very unintentionally, hopefully unintentionally, like soul crushing if you're like not aware of like the fact that like, especially newer people coming into the studio, like everything you do and say and how you move, people like internalize that as like, a reflection on themselves. So just I don't know, a little TED talk, a little soapbox of mine that I notice with the people that I interact with, where I'm like, oh, if you would have had like a nicer instructor when you first started, like maybe we wouldn't have so many complexes to try to overcome right
Absolutely.
now. So.
And it also means that you have yes, a responsibility as an instructor, but I also find that I have on the flip side an opportunity to I don't even want to make it. I'm like to encode. That makes it sound like I'm trying to brainwash people. But like when people say, like, oh, I can't do this. I started saying yet, which is like so corny because like it's that growth mindset thing. And I know everybody probably like knows about it by now, but like now I've noticed pretty much everybody in my studio says yet, or they tag yet at the end of somebody else's statements. And like on the one hand, my inner voice is like, stop giving yourself credit for starting that at your studio. But like it's true. I started telling people yet. Like I started telling my classes yet, and then they started telling each other yet. When somebody would say, "Oh, I can't do that," they would go yet, and it's like kind of annoying at this point, but also it's the first step to establishing a growth mindset that like you are going to do this eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no need to do it today. So, and you're certainly not going to, if you're beating yourself up the whole time, not only are you not going to get where you need to go, but you're going to hate the process. So, I think we also have like a really great opportunity to instill those things that really matter. Because whether you can Rainbow Marchenko, it doesn't really matter. But like, did you try? Did you have fun? Like, I end classes a lot of times, like especially morning classes, like a Thursday morning. I'm at the end, even if it's been a struggle. I'm like, well, we did more than most people on a Thursday morning, so there you go.
Definitely. Yeah. And that actually segues into the next question that I have for you is surrounding growth and like
Mm-hmm.
the yet. What's next? What's next for you? What's next for Bee's Knees? Like, how are we growing? We're still in a pandemic, son of a bitch.
Yes.
I keep being like, now that we're out of a pandemic, we're not out of a pandemic, but like we're almost in a new year, 2022. What are our goals, ambitions,
That
dreams?
is a great question. And thank you for acknowledging that we are still in the middle of a global crisis. Because I feel like a lot of people just are like, we're going to pretend it's not there. And I'm like, but wait, it's very much still like choking the life out of everything I do. But yeah, I think, I mean, I'm trying to, at least on the business side of it, I'm trying to lean into email marketing and Google ads more to like automate that arm of the business. Because I need to get off socials because it's just like I'm on it too much. And part of it is that I have to be, and some of it is that I just get sucked in and it's not always healthy. So that's like a business slash personal goal to like walk away from the gram a little bit. Um, I also have been thinking too that like offering about doing more custom work. I'll never be able to make one-off knee pads. Like that's just not how small batch manufacture works. But customizing knee pads, I think, is going to be something that I'm going to experiment with this year.
Mm.
I did the Zodiac series last year, and it was pre-order only once a month, and people kept missing the window. So I don't want to put this kind of a burden on the one person that does the designs for me, but like I would love to have that available all the time. So if you miss Capricorn, like you don't have to wait until next year. Like you can pre-order them and they will be made for you. And then but my girl also had a great idea for like UV knee pads or glow in the dark knee pads, and those would be applied after the fact. And I'm like, there's just so many opportunities for custom work, like the kind like the way Natalia Nightshade takes pleasers and like customizes them. Like I wonder if there's sort of a similar niche for knee pads in that sense, for me. And then I have revenue targets. I'm really excited that I know what those are. So I'm going to, try to hit a revenue target this year. I'm like, wow, I'm learning. And then like the goal, I'm sorry, a friend just stopped by. um, I also would like to, so what people might not know if, like, because I do run this business and I do teach pole, but I also temp. And I do that because I need to make money. I would love to not have to temp. I would love to only temp if I wanted to. So that's like, I would love to hit those revenue targets so I no longer have to temp. I run this business full time, but it is not my primary bread and butter, but I would like it to be. So I'm
I,
saying it.
I love it.
And since I'm saying things to the universe, pleaser, call me back because I want pleaser to make heels in colors that match my 5 shades of nude because I think that would be bomb.
Yeah.
I've already emailed them, but they won't answer me. So
We'll build that to the universe. And if anyone listening has connections with pleasers, please reach out to Bee. She has an idea that needs to
thank you.
come to life. I think those are honestly really amazing goals, and I'm excited to see how they play out. And like, I always find it really interesting because I like to set goals at the beginning of the year. How they end up pivoting like throughout the year as things come up, or as you're doing your like fuck around and find out, and it's like, oh, like maybe this is way easier than I like ever anticipated, so like let's go and let's go fast, or like, like this is a little bit more involved than I had ever like potentially imagined, so I need to like reimagine how it's gonna look so that it can come to life. And that like we talked about at the beginning, the never ending like ups and downs roller coasters of running a business.
Yes.
My final question for you, which is one of my favorite questions in the whole world, is if you could go back in time and tell little baby B as she was walking into her very first pole class any sort of advice or tips or just anything, like back to your past self, what would you tell yourself?
I would tell my past self to hold on to your fucking hat because you're about to become the person that you always wanted to be.
And I love it. And I feel like that's a really good message to end on, is like, you can always become the person that you ultimately want to be. And that journey might look different and it might be rough sometimes, but like, you know, if you have a vision and you're really dedicated to something, I really truly believe there's like nothing in the world that we can't accomplish with time. It might take longer than you want, but you'll get there eventually.
Yes.